Peach Cuties, welcome to your first video tutorial for your Christmas Gnomes block of the month. This is the super cute little free kit that we give you when you join. It's a really great way to practice and use our embroidery files and see how the process works before you get to your real blocks. So I'm going to show you some of my favorite tools that I use, and I'm going to show you how I set myself up for success using the file. First off, you'll go to the website, log into your account, download your embroidery file, and you'll put it on a USB and then put it onto your machine, or you can send it Wi-Fi to your machine if that's how your machine works. And then I have a hoop loaded with my Sulky Tear Easy stabilizer. We have that available on our website. It's great because it's stable enough to hold everything in position nicely in your hoop, and it's also pretty easy to tear away when you're done. So I have that on. And then what I always recommend is that you read through your pattern. So of course we say, hello, it's us. Just in case you didn't know who we are, Julie and Brittany, I'm this one. And then we tell you about your fabric prep. We tell you your cutting instructions, which really you don't have to do anything right now to get started with your embroidery machine portion. And then we lay out all of your instructions. So read through this and really understand what you're gonna do. I'm gonna walk with you through how I label my pieces. And then you can see when you read through the pattern, where is it? Right here, you get to all your thread color changes. I always get my thread organized and laid out in order of appearance is what I call it. So of course I have white that's already on my machine. And then we're gonna have 1039 true red, 1019 peach, and 1177 avocado. So I always organize my threads and lay it out on the side. So what I'm gonna do now is show you how I organize my pieces. So in your pattern every month, you're gonna have your reversed applique pieces, and you're gonna have your placement guide. Now, of course, for your real blocks, they're much larger. It's a larger piece of paper. For your starter, it's small and it fits on the regular size paper. So the applique placement, oh, I have a typo. Look, I say applique placement guide. These are your reverse applique pieces. I'll fix that. And so this means that when you are going to label your pieces, you're gonna put it the fabric side down because it's reversed, right? So this is the side that you're gonna have where you can write on the back of your applique piece. And then this is your placement guide, so you see the numbers and how everything's going to go together. So let's number our pieces, and then I'll show you some more notions before we get started. This is a piece of my machine. So you will get your pieces every month, and what I always do first is take a look at them and I number them. So first up, it doesn't matter which ones you're numbering first. You are going to, so I have the paper side up on my reverse piece, and you just put it on top, make sure those are the right piece. So this is piece number 6. This is piece number 7. I like to write with the thin fine point Sharpie because it stays nice on the back of the paper side of your pieces. Then we have our gnome hat. It's number 4. You'll notice throughout the block of the month, you'll have double lined pieces. So anytime you have a lighter color, like a pale pink or a peach or a white on white dot, you're gonna have likely in your kit too, depending on where it appears in the block. And that's so we can double line it. So I'll show you how we do that when we get to that. But when you have 2 of the same piece, just number it twice. So we have 2 of piece 5, that's his nose. Now you will, with your beards every month, your beards are a white dapple dot in your kit, and then you're always gonna have a white piece that's gonna go underneath it. It's a plain white. And we don't line, when you have a print of any kind, you don't wanna put the print over each other because the dots would, not line up perfectly, right? So we always put, when we iron these on, we're gonna put the plain piece down first, and then we're gonna put the dotted piece on after that. So I'm gonna flip them over so I can label it. Piece number 2, piece number 3, and again, 2 and 3. And then we have our red pieces. We have piece number 1 and piece number 8. So then all you need to do is snip them free your pieces. I like to use the Karen K Buckley scissors. They are awesome. You can see they're sharp all the way to the tip, and they're serrated. They cut so nicely. And quite frankly, my favorite part is that the handle is comfortable. It really hurts my hands if I don't use scissors that are nice and cushioned like that. I know that sounds silly, but why hurt your hands, right? Be comfy. So you're just gonna snip your little piece free. And we have one more just a little itty bitty snip. There you go. And then I like to have, oh, I'm going to show you how messy my little trash bucket is. By my machine, I always keep a cute little like jar or something like that to use as a little bitty trash can. At my house, I actually have a little cute trash can that has like a little flippy lid. It's so cute. But this is what I use here at the office. It's a little glass jar. You can see I need to empty it. And I just keep that beside me so that I have an easy spot to toss my trash. And it's cute. And don't you think we all just like love cute little things? And so we're just snipping our little pieces free. And then I'll show you how we're going to organize them in just a second. And I do this before I start every single month. So I'm going to show you these steps again in your first tutorial for block 1. And then after that, it'll be old hat for you, you know. I just think organizing yourself up front really sets you up for success. And it makes it where I always tell Mom, after I lay out my pieces in order and I lay out my thread in order, you're pretty much done thinking. Like, you don't have to worry about anything after that. So this takes just a second just to snip them. There you go. Sometimes, let's see, do we have any really small pieces in this block of the month? I'm not sure. If we have really small pieces, sometimes I actually wait and snip them until I'm actually using the piece at that step because I don't want to accidentally, like, I don't know, walk away from where I have them piled and then lose them. So that's not quite small enough to wait and snip, but just a fun fact, a little tidbit. So now we're going to open. I have them all, by the way, facing up where I can see the number, obviously. So then we're going to read our pattern. So the first step that we're going to go through where we're actually ironing pieces on, it's going to be piece 1 all by itself. So I'm going to put that, let me move this a little off to the side. You can see I just put it in its own little pile. Then the next step is going to be only piece 2. And you can see we remind you to iron the solid white piece down first, and then you're going to put the dotted piece on after that. Then the next step, we're going to iron on pieces 3 and 4. So again, we're going to do the white and then the dotted, and then we're going to do number 4. And then, then we're going to do pieces 5, 6, 7, and 8. So 5, there's 2 of those, 6, 7, and 8. So I have them in numerical order, and they're cute little pile with how they go. So now, because I have my thread laid out, I have my file loaded on my machine, I have my pieces organized, now I just need to get my space ready. And so the other fabric you have in your kit, this is the back of your pincushion, these are the borders, and then this is the background. And so I'm gonna have that off to the side. I'm gonna tell you about my starching. Well, first off, I always clip my little pattern up on the side for myself. So let me clip that up. And I keep my placement guide beside me as well because I reference that just to make sure I'm putting the right number in the right place. Usually always they only fit in the place they go. Other notions I like to have. Right in front of my machine, I have my Steady Betty set up. And then I actually keep you can see under here, I have a cutting mat. This is actually the cutting mat that comes with my light pad. That Caterpillar Premium Glow light pad comes with this. And I like to keep that just right under here because when I trim my block, I have that. And then when it comes to securing your fabric in your hoop at the very first step, or the very first time you're putting the fabric in the hoop, there's 2 different things I like to use. Either my Sew Tights, these are basically magnetic pins. I like to use these. I also like, sometimes I switch between them, to be honest. This is 3M transport tape, just ordered on Amazon or something like that. It's actually medical tape. When I was a kid, my mom used to always have this in her lab coat pocket back in the day. And so I actually think it's really cool to use because you feel like you're being a little doctor. And this is great. It's super easy, and then it's easy to tear because it's kind of like serrated, so it's really friendly. And then another little tool I like to have by my embroidery machine is my Alex Anderson 4-in-1 tool. Where I like to use this, I probably won't use it today because the pieces aren't quite small enough, but when you have small pieces, I either use the wooden tip or this comes off and there's the little stiletto underneath, and I'll use that to help like wiggle like a little bitty piece into place and hold it so that I can iron. Speaking of irons, I need to turn mine on actually. There we go. You can use a little iron because it's easier, right? When you're putting the applique pieces in your hoop. This is one option. It's the Cricut. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's a little bitty, look how cute this is, you guys. It's just this little bitty, look, here's my hand so you can see how small it is. It's so cute. this little mini iron. It's great. It, I guess, has 3 levels of heat. I don't know. I always just turn it, I guess, to the max, but I love it. It doesn't steam, and you don't need it to. This is all you need. So I love having this. This is the cute little base it sits on. Another option that's great is the Aliso, and it was an MP3 Pro, I believe it is. Those also come in some really cute designer colors. I know Tula Pink has a really cute one with little fishies in it, top pink. I have that at my house. It's adorable. So there's a lot of really fun different, they have really fun colors too. Like I think I have coral as well at my house. As you can tell, my sewing room, I have a lot of pinks in there. And then what else do I want to tell you? Scissors, Sharpie, thread, Oh, your needles. We recommend, this is the size that you would use for anything on your embroidery machine when you're using your 40 weight rayon thread. And this is the 7511 embroidery needle. These are super inexpensive. I can't remember the exact price, but like definitely under 10. I'm pretty sure they're under $5. We have them on our website and they're great. And you do want to make sure throughout the process you change your needle. Anytime you have a problem where you think your thread is like kind of coming unthreaded a lot, to me that means your needle needs replaced. And when it comes to bobbins, let me grab them. I don't take time to make my bobbins for the embroidery machine. I do for my sewing machine when I'm doing the applique because I match my bobbin. But on the embroidery machine, I do not match my bobbin. Look at this. This is like 200 bobbins. Just picked it up. You can buy it from your embroidery dealer that, you know, is the one that goes with your brand. Don't tell anybody. These are just little cheapies from Amazon and they're working great. So I don't know how many are in here. A bunch. I love it. I just keep it right by my machine and I never have to make a bobbin. So with that being said, oh, I know what I was going to tell you. I was going to talk about starching. So especially when it comes to your quilt blocks, when you go to assemble, I like to work with starched fabric. So before I start using my fabric in the embroidery machine, I give it a good starch. This is a personal preference. If you've never starched your fabric, give it a try. See how you like piecing. If you don't like starching, you don't have to. It's really a preference on how you like it for when you starch, for when you piece. But to me, a nice starched fabric, it's just a little bit more stable. And so I feel like my piecing, my trimming of the block, etc. is more accurate. So I know watching me iron, this is probably like watching paint dry. I apologize. But I wanted you to see how much. And to be honest, if I wasn't filming it, I probably would have put more starch. I really like for my fabric to be almost like paper. I think it's really nice. But yeah, I do this for every background fabric before I put it in the hoop of the machine. I should say on the hoop of the machine because you're going to put it on top of your stabilizer. So with that being said, we are going to load the white thread on your machine. And then the very first thing that's going to stitch is going to be a rectangle around your stabilizer. And we'll be back like that to put this fabric in place. Okay, so just like that, you have your first line stitched onto your stabilizer and with your 40 weight rayon thread, and you just have a rectangle. So what we're gonna do is just simply put this on. You just wanna make sure you can feel where the thread is. Just wanna make sure you're covering that entire stitch square. And I'm gonna use my sew tights today so you can see them. And I always put it just right at the edge. Make sure it's not gonna be on top of your line. Of course, you can feel with your finger. And then I just simply do another one at the bottom. And of course, throughout the entire process, you wanna make sure that you don't pull on any corners of your stabilizer or anything like that, because it will, if you move your pattern, just like you would with any embroidery file, every step after you've wiggled it is gonna be wrong. So do be cognizant of that. I never have an issue, and I wouldn't say I'm that gentle with my hoop getting it on and off. So this is ready to go again with white thread for the next step. What your machine is going to stitch now is going to be that same square again, but it's also gonna give us the first applique outline, which is piece 1 of his little jacket. Okay, so this is what is stitched now. Ultimately, when you go to trim, you're going to use this outer square as a guide. You're still going to use your ruler, of course, to trim and make sure everything is perfectly accurate. But this is pretty much the line you're going to trim right along. I always like to use a ruler to make sure it's perfect. All right, so now we are ready to iron our first applique piece on. And all you do is take your piece numbered 1, turn it over. My tip for getting the fusible backing off is just simply to take on the edge, you have it fabric side up, and just simply push down like that and it pops right off. So easy to take off. And then you're going to put it right in place. So it's a perfect fit right inside. There you go. And we are going to iron it. And you can see it only takes a second to iron it. There we go. So now basically what your machine is going to be doing for the next few steps is building your applique in the hoop, okay? So the next thing that we'll stitch is our beard, which is piece 2. And just to let you know, throughout the process, you're not gonna have to do just one piece at a time on every file. It just depends on how the layers are. So on this one, because there's so few pieces and they are all overlapped, you're kind of doing just one at a time, but don't worry, in your blocks, usually you're doing multiples at a time. All right, so we have our next applique outline. And remember, you have 2 pieces of your beard, so you're gonna put down the solid piece first, and then we'll iron the dotted piece on after that, because you want the dotted to be what shows. And I'll show you, actually, let me go in and peel it, and I'll just do a little demonstration. If this wasn't double lined, your white just doesn't appear as white. It has that like blue behind it. Whereas if we do this first, you'll see your white is gonna be a crisp white. And again, you're just gonna take your time and put your piece in place. It's always a perfect fit. You're never gonna have to like pull or tug or try and distort your piece. You just plop it down and wiggle it into place. And then this goes right on top. So see how much clearer that got as a white color? And that applies to, we do it for like the gnome nose, and what else? The house, the white on the houses, like on the little lollipop or whatever that is on the side of the house, and then the roof line, that is always going to be double lined as well. So now continue with white thread for the next round of applique outlines. Okay, so now we have 2 pieces we're gonna put in place, and throughout the entire process, you're always gonna put your pieces on in numerical order. So they might be that you need to put pieces 7, 9, and 11 down, let's say on a block. You would always put 7 down first, then 9, then 11. In this case, we have pieces number 3 and 4. So we're gonna put pieces 3 down, let's say pieces because there's 2 of piece 3, and then we're gonna put 4. So always do it in numerical order from smallest to largest. Just like on the beard, the mustache is double lined. So we're gonna put the solid piece on first. And really, we could have gotten away without necessarily double lining this one because it's going onto a piece that's already double lined. But again, we have that dot factor, right? So we just wanted to make it super cute, right? Like, why not make it perfect? There we go. Right in place. And now we're gonna put his little hat on. You guys, this is going to be so cute, and it's only the little freebie project. Can you imagine how much fun we're going to have stitching the whole quilt? Well, first off, I got to help make this quilt, and it was a delight to make. So I've already made it. So I'm speaking from experience. It is so stinking cute and fun to make. So now just make sure your hat lines up everywhere. I'm going to pull it down just a little. There we go. And then press, and you'll notice I pick up my iron. I'm not pulling it across, because if you're pulling it, you might actually wiggle the piece, right? And we don't want to do that. There we go. So cute. I did actually pull it after I ironed it on, just because I didn't want my iron mark there. So now we're going to continue on. This is going to be our last round of applique outlines, okay? So let's keep going. Alrighty, so we have our last round of applique outlines, and just like before, we're gonna put our pieces down in numerical order, and then it's really important, especially when you look at the holly and the berry, because they do over and underlap. So if you don't put them on in the numerical order, then your stitching isn't gonna match the piece. So first up is piece number 5. This is our little guy's nose. These are solids. They're both the like pale pink peachy color, so they're the exact same. Doesn't matter which one you put on first, because there's no print involved. So just remove your backing. And I do typically iron each piece one at a time when I'm double lining. Every now and then I get brave and I put 2 down at a time, but for the most part, I like to do just one at a time and make sure I'm perfectly accurate. It's not like I'm in some crazy hurry, right? This is fun. You want to enjoy it. Look how cute. Now we're going to put piece number 6 down. This is where you really also want to make sure that you're looking at your placement guide. Piece 6 is this bottom holly piece. Of course, it wouldn't fit in the other one anyway, but it's just nice to know where it goes. So put that in place. There we go. Then we're gonna put, and if you, look, I kind of wiggled it. While it's still hot, just use your finger, kind of wiggle it back. There we go. And then this is piece number 7, which is the top holly. So we're gonna put that just like so. There we go. And then our very last piece, piece number 8, is our cute red holly berry. So from here on out, you're done. All you have to do is change your threads. You're done thinking. So just follow what the machine tells you to do. For the tutorials, I'm not gonna, on the tutorials that I'm gonna do for you, I'm not gonna like show you the actually stitching on the machine, because you're gonna watch your machine stitch, right? You don't need to see my machine stitch. They're all gonna do the same thing. So first off, what we're gonna do, the white thread that you have on your machine that you've done all your placement guidelines with, you're gonna keep that on your machine, because what's going to stitch now is of course going to be the beard and mustache, okay? Alrighty, let's take a look. The white is all stitched. It's perfection. So I'm going to tell you, for your hoop at home, you don't need to take your hoop on and off for every thread color change. Just leave it on. You're only changing your thread. In this video, I'm simply taking it off the hoop so I can just talk about the thread colors that we're changing to. So next up, it is going to be 1039 red. And look at this, y'all. I use this color all the time. I've actually broken this spool top, but these things last forever. They're great. I love this thread. So we are going to load the red, and what we'll stitch will of course be the berry, the hat, and the portion of his jacket that will not be in the seam allowance. So it's only going to be this little edge and this little edge, because this part of him right here, a 1/4 inch of it, will be in your seam allowance when you sew your pincushion borders on. Alrighty, take a look. You have a berry, a hat, and then his little jacket is stitched. So a few things. If you see, can you see on the side, there's a little thread sticking out. When I change colors, I'm a thread holder at the beginning, so I always have a little thread to snip. So these are great for that as well, because they are sharp all the way to the tip. So this is a really handy tool to have while you're doing your embroidery the entire process through. And now what we're gonna do is put on 1019 peach, and all that's gonna stitch is his cute little nose. Alrighty, take a look. You got a cute little nose. So cute. And now we're on our very last thread color change. This is Avocado 1177. Again, look at my spool. It's an oldie but a goodie. I've been using it. I actually, earlier today, finished an entire spool of black. Like, I never get to the end of a spool, it feels like. So it was oddly very fun to use the whole spool. Of course, in your block of the month, if you have the thread kit from us, you are not going to use an entirety of any of the spool colors. So you'll have a nice stash to use on other projects too. So without further ado, let's load the 1177 avocado, and our 2 little leaves will stitch. Alrighty, so you are done with everything you need to do in your embroidery machine. Let's come in close. Look at the perfection of your stitches. Can we just talk about that berry? Oh my God, I love it. If you do sewing machine applique, you know when you're doing something like round, like I always want my stitches to look this perfect, and I pivot as much as I can. I never quite get it as good as an embroidery machine, but it's so much fun to do on your sewing machine too. But this is just like, oh, perfection. I love it. So let's talk about what you're going to do now. I'll give you some tips. When you take this out, I pull all of my, stabilizer out before I trim anything. I just do that and take it out from all of this. A lot of times what I do, if I'm doing like the actual block for my quilt, I'll just go on and I just sort of score it with the tip like this, so that you have like an entry point to get it going. And then I just sit on the couch or someplace comfy and pull out all of it. But I like to just give a little tip. I pull from the center like this always and go around. And then I like to have a pair of tweezers to kind of come back in and really get it. But you can be pretty aggressive with it. It doesn't hurt your stitches, even though you feel like you're gonna. But you can see with my nails, I can't quite grip. So I use tweezers to get the rest of it out. But you'll take away all of your stabilizer. Then you'll use your ruler and line it up with these white lines, and you're gonna trim. And then you are going to use your pattern and your assembly instructions. You already have your cutting at the beginning, and you are going to cut your little border strips to go boop, 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 boop. And do know that, let me show you on the placement guide, we do know your trim line, the outside 5.5 inches, and then we always give you that little seam line. This is showing you, I wrote binding. It's not binding, it's your border goes right there. So this is going to be the seam line for where you put your borders in right here. So you can see that your applique is going to catch right here in that seam allowance, which is why your machine didn't buttonhole stitch right there. It wasn't necessary. And then after you do that, you are going to sandwich them together, right sides together. Of course, press everything and trim it like it says in the pattern. And then you're gonna flip it right side out. Let me talk about what we stuff it with. I wish I had the real thing here to show you. This one, you're not gonna be able to see. This is a different pincushion. Down here, what we fill the pincushions with is lizard litter. I wish you could like feel through the video. And then at the top where we close it, we put a little bit of polyfill just to hold that in while we're sewing. But it gives just like a really nice weight to a pincushion. This is the front, what it looks like. So that's what we use in this. You can kind of tell in the picture. It's like, that's my hand sitting there and it's sitting in my hand. It gives it such a nice weight to use. It's crushed walnut shells, but you actually buy it at the pet store and it's called lizard litter. I personally get a kick out of going to the pet store and going to the reptile section and buying lizard litter. It makes me giggle. Comes in a pretty big bag. We actually store it here at the office in a cute like glass jar. It's like a really big glass jar with a cute lid. That's where we keep it, and then we just keep a little funnel and a scoop in there. It is helpful to use a funnel to get it into the hole so it's not as messy. And then right before where you're gonna whip stitch it closed, we put just a little bit of polyfill at the bottom right there, because you want to sew it closed at the bottom, of course. And that is just to make sure that those crushed walnut shells aren't like coming out when you are whip stitching it closed. So that's my little tip there. As always, if you have any questions throughout making this or making all of your blocks that we're going to do together throughout the Christmas Gnomes Block of the Month, don't hesitate to reach out. We're always happy to help. And thanks so much for joining, and happy stitching.